A Classroom, Georgetown University, 2029. She sets her notes down. She will not pick them up again until the final line. She has said this before. It's never gotten easier. "I'm going to describe something to you," she said. "Don't try to place it, not yet. Just listen. You don't see it coming because it doesn't come all at once. This is how it happens. A government fights a war it cannot afford. It borrows what it cannot tax. It prints what it cannot borrow. They give the printing a clinical name. Clinical names keep people calm while their savings disappear. The currency weakens, the debt compounds. The payments come due. The central bank, built to be independent, decides independence is less important than accommodation. The people feel it before they understand it. Every time they buy bread, every time they fill a tank, every time they open a mortgage statement, do the arithmetic, and quietly close it again. The middle class goes first. Not in a single event, in 1,000 small ones. The savings account that buys less every year. The son who does the math and decides the old promises don't apply to him. The daughter who stops believing the system can be trusted. A generation that loses faith in its institutions doesn't simply become cynical. It becomes available. Available to whoever arrives first with a simple story and a clear villain. The press is attacked. The courts are sidelined. The legislature falls in line. The schools stop teaching history. Not by decree. The past is crowded out. Newer subjects, tighter budgets. The quiet understanding that what happened before is less urgent than what is happening now. A population never introduced to its own past cannot recognize it when it returns. And it always returns. Adversaries who once factored the country's resolve into every calculation quietly remove it from the equation. No announcements. They simply stop accounting for a response. Alliances that held for generations begin pulling apart, sustained less by conviction than by the personal efforts of individual leaders who understand the stakes when their governments have stopped caring about them. The institutions built at great cost, designed by people who survived the last catastrophe specifically to prevent the next one, are defunded, discredited, dismissed as obstacles by officials who find accountability professionally inconvenient. The public that might have demanded their preservation had no idea what they were for. The purpose had never been explained. The history that would have explained it had never been taught. The technology arrives, promising liberation. It delivers displacement. Jobs disappear faster than any system exists to absorb the people who held them. And the same technology produces, at industrial scale, a new kind of fog. Not a fog that hides information, a fog that buries it. Platforms built to reward speed over depth, anger over understanding, the mirror over the window. A civilization drowning in information and starving for context. The legislature becomes a ratifying body. Representatives elected to check executive power begin, one by one, to accommodate it instead. Each decision is individual. Each surrender is incremental. Each person decides their own continuity matters more than their oath. The constitutional architecture designed to prevent the concentration of power does not fall in a single session. It is vacated, quietly, voluntarily, in plain sight of a public that has lost the vocabulary to name what it is watching. This is how it happens. A minority steps into the space, never a majority. A population humiliated by economic ruin, abandoned by its institutions, stripped of any framework that might give it bearing, proves willing to accept a simple story with a clear villain in place of a complicated truth with a demanding solution. The movement does not rise on its own strength. It rises because the center has failed. Thoroughly. Repeatedly. Without remorse. The conservative establishment that believes it can contain the movement and use it for its own purposes hands it power and discovers it has not tamed anything at all. From that movement comes a leader. From that leader comes a war. From that war comes a body count so vast, so systematic in its methods, that the world must invent new legal vocabulary to describe what human beings have done to one another. The storm arrived with every warning available. The warnings were documented, preserved, and published, but almost entirely unread. That's the part that's hardest to forgive. She looks at her students. She waits. She's not going to help them. Now, she said, place it. A hand went up near the back. Sounds a lot like our situation today, the student said, right now. She looks at him. The room waits. No, she said. What I just described was the Weimar Republic, exactly 100 years ago, on the verge of becoming Nazi Germany, 13 years before the gas chambers, 4 years before Adolf Hitler is handed the chancellorship by a conservative establishment that believed it could control him. As it turned out, they could not control him. The warning signs are always visible. Weimar didn't fall because no one saw them. It fell because the people who did assumed someone else would stop it.